There we go. All right. All right. How you doing, everybody? So I had some technical issues. I was stressing out for a second because I didn't want to be late like this for you guys. But we're all good. Thank God for my wife. She jumped in and helped me. I almost had a coronary. But yeah. So anyway, I just wanted to come on today. I had to switch times, and unfortunately, Jace couldn't make it because he had a prior engagement. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a regular crypto corner show next Tuesday, and with me and Jace, and we'll continue. But I did want to come on since it's been 2 weeks. We had the election. And so I did want to come on and just talk with you guys and just kind of see where we're at, but also take the opportunity because I have been getting some comments that I did speak about the 2008 recession, and some of the things that the contributors and why and some of the things that happened. Some of the things I was, in that industry in banking investments. And so just some of the things that happened and going through it and just go a little bit deeper into it. And so I'm not going to do the whole show on that, but I definitely want to dive a little deeper than what I did last time, because it seemed like, again, it was kind of a topic that people were very interested in. And I think, I think we all are, because what we do know is that everything runs in cycles. It seems like every 10 to 15 years we have a correction, if not a major correction. In 2008, it was a recession, and so because we know these patterns come, sometimes it's good to recognize, or if you can, it's always good to recognize patterns, and then see if you can take advantage of them when they're about to come up, and you can start to act on them before they actually hit, and instead of being a casualty of war. You're actually a victor, and you can do pretty well. And some of the horror stories you hear just aren't there for you because you saw the pattern and you took advantage of it. So that's some of the things I wanted to talk to you today about, and some of the things that that we actually saw, especially moving between New York and Las Vegas, and the differences in the two. It's just really interesting when you get into it. But like I said, it'll just be for a part of the show, and then we'll get into the election and which very, very happy and hopeful for our country moving forward, and some of the things it means for crypto, for the markets on the whole, and just for our country, and just to kind of kick it off that way. And then, like I said, when Jace gets back, we'll really go back into crypto 100%. So, some of the things that really were big contributors, and things that we saw just on a human level, you saw average people that were living their lives just fine, and then all of a sudden, within about a 5 or 6 month period, right around that 2008 time, all of a sudden they come in, and there's a different air about them a little bit, because they are owning not only do they bought one house, but they used that house to buy a house, and then that house to buy another one, and another one, and another one. And in particular, there was one lady who happened to be a teacher, who was coming into the branch, and from being, like lower middle class, to all of a sudden she was worth, 1.5, 1 point something million dollars, because on paper she owned homes that were worth that much, right? She had loans against them, but she was looking at the assets and seeing that, that's what they were worth. But, once the variable rate mortgage kicked in, right, and home prices, which were always, everyone thought they were just going to keep going up. They didn't, right? They started to stagnate. They started to come down. Their variable rate mortgages hit, and people's mortgages went from, $1,500 to $3,500. couldn't afford them, and then they get foreclosed on. So this lady went from living her life the way she knew she could live it, and she was living a fine life, right, being a teacher, to being what she thought was being a millionaire, to now bankrupt. And you think about that emotional roller coaster. That's rough. And when you Americans on the whole, there was a large percentage of Americans that were doing that. And so we'll get into that too, about, what is that good debt versus bad debt? When you have that, what are you doing with it? Because that was a very big problem too, when you have to take some of the accountability on yourself, as, are you controlling your financial security? Are you managing your finances the right way? And so without, really formal education in our education system, and without really a formal education on finances and how things work, and things like that. So when you get out into the workforce and you are making an income, what are you doing with your money? How are you budgeting, saving? Are you heavily weighted in one area, so you're taking on a lot of risk, not realizing it? Or do you understand the rebalancing portfolio? These are all really on the basic, could be basic, but if you're not, in that field, then you're just not going to be looking for that, and you can really be blindsided and hit hard. And so, when the bank I worked at, Colonial Bank, they wind up going out of business. And so in July of 08 to July of 09, we moved back to New York, and we were working for one of the big three, Lisa and I, and she was at one branch, I was at the other, right? And what you saw there was, yes, they were going there, the recession hit everywhere, but in the neighborhoods that we were in, they were hit. But what they weren't doing is they weren't allocating any new assets to the market. They weren't, or they were doing very unique type of kind of investments, going into certain types of annuities and indexes and stuff like that. But for the most part, they said, what, I took a big loss, but my life isn't really going to change, and I'm just going to stay and wait it out and see what happens. And people, for the most part, were still going about their business. And in the financials, in the branches, in the bank branches, what you've noticed is we were running out of deposit slips in New York, right? And so that's telling. When people are making more deposits, right, and they're making deposits where we're running out of deposit slips, that's a good sign that we're depositing money. Well, come July of 09, Chase had taken over WAMU, Washington Mutual, and Lisa and I decided to come back out to Vegas. And Las Vegas was a whole different ballgame during that time. When you look at, what was going on in Vegas, there was, just in my sister-in-law's cul-de-sac, there was 4 out of the 5 homes were foreclosed on. And it was, Nevada was one of the worst hit states, along with, Florida got hit pretty bad, and Georgia, but Nevada really did get hit hard. And when you walk into neighborhoods and you see, hedges and unmanicured lawns and the little parks that during the day kids filled up, and at night the basketball courts that the guys were playing basketball when the lights went on. When it was hot in the summer here in Vegas, they go play later in the evening, and everything was just barren. And it's an eerie feeling, but it wasn't like that in New York. And lo and behold, the difference, which is fascinating, in the banks, we found that we were running out of withdrawal slips in Las Vegas, right? So in the New York branches, we were running out of deposit slips. In Las Vegas, Nevada, running out of withdrawal slips. And so when you look at it, you see people who are really taking on, they're spending money in a way that, one, is not really what you should be doing. And everyone, you can do whatever you'd like. But that's where Robert Kiyosaki, when he talks about good debt versus bad debt, and, and when you see it in real time, it's pretty wild to see, because you read about it and it's in a book. You're not really seeing real life, like in real life, it play out, but we were seeing it in real time. And that was incredible, because, and I don't mean incredible in a good way. I mean, incredible, like, holy shit, this is happening, and so you look at it, and people were taking, lines of credit on their homes because their homes went up in value a little bit, right before the adjustable rate went up. They had some equity in there. They take the equity out, or they're doing cash out refis or whatever they're doing to put pools in, or buy a car and flat screen TVs and all these type of things, vacations and all that stuff. And again, God bless you, do what you like. But when you start doing things like that, what happens is, when the your adjustable rate mortgage, when that adjusts up and you can't afford to pay it, and instead of that money being saved and keeping your equity intact so your house don't go upside down and you don't find yourself in hot water, that's when it becomes a problem. And so, because we were really close to that, 15, 18, 20 year period where we, you're not having a real correction. So, say what, in 2000, we had 99, 2000, we had the dot-com bust, but this was in 2008 this was like a real correction that was coming. That was going to be, not a bubble bursting, but this was worldwide. There are pictures you can see when you go up. There was like over 18,764, something like that, neighborhoods that were abandoned in America. That's incredible. And so this was worldwide. This thing spread like it was like a wildfire in abandoned towns in Paris, and you can see it. You can see it all over the world. And so, good debt versus bad debt. So, did you, if you're taking debt to buy an asset that's going to yield you an income, that's going to yield you a hedge against inflation, that's going to yield you income and a hedge, that's something that you can use in bad times, not that's going to get flipped up on its head and it just becomes a worthless asset at that point and you just take a loss. You want to make that would be considered good debt, right? Because you took debt out at whatever the interest rate was, but because you're making a monthly income from it, and you say you have a positive cash flow during bad times, and you still have that positive cash flow, that would be good debt. And and obviously you want to know what you're doing and be in the right asset class, but that's not, most people aren't in that mind frame where they know exactly what they're going to do with the money, because we saw these people, as soon as they got that money and they were able to do that, what they went to go buy was automobiles, depreciating asset, trips that were over extravagant, right? That's not a great thing. It's nice to splurge and feel good, and everyone probably needs it, but not the best thing to do when you're leveraging your home or your equity. And so when these things are happening, you want to make sure that you're really leveraging your assets in the right way. And so that's one thing that Robert Kiyosaki talks about quite a bit. And so we'll go into it, a little bit more, but some of the things, right? If you had to list some of the things that were the precursor of what was going to happen in 2008 and further, when you look at, first you have real estate that was moving up, right? People being told by everybody in that industry that it is the safest investment you can be in. Real estate never goes down. owning a home is a true asset. That's something I probably would, I can argue against that a little bit, because when you look at just owning the home, you're not only paying a mortgage, but you have to pay for upkeep and all the maintenance on it, anything that goes wrong, taxes, all that stuff. So it's really more of a drain. You can have some equity in it, but over time, that's not an asset like you would want. If you would want more, that asset would be a great asset if you had your primary residence, right? And then you had another residence that is just yielding you a positive cash flow. That's a different story, right? And so you want to, so when you look at just a straight owning your primary residence, it's a wonderful thing, and congratulations. But it can't fully be in just on the asset side, because it can be a drain of money, right? It's just how it is. And so, what starts to happen is you think real estate's always going to move up, always going to move up. Now, I was trying to buy a home at that time too, and the mortgage agents, I think, went a little crazy. They were making a ton of money, and they were giving everybody loans. They were handing loans out, hand over fist, and it was to people who shouldn't even been qualified for it, right? Why? How would a teacher, just an elementary school teacher, need to buy 5 homes within 6 months, get a mortgage on each of them, leveraging each one against the other, with adjustable rate mortgages going? And so why would that be something that a mortgage broker would do to anybody, realizing that that's not something that's going to be tenable? And so that was going on, and I specifically had a personal experience with it. I was making a certain amount of money at that time, and I was looking at homes, and then of course you look at homes, and then there's like, whoa, that one's how many square feet? It has a pool. It's half indoor and half outdoor pool. It has a basketball court. It has what? And so now the price of the home gradually keeps moving up, which means your mortgage is going to be moving up, right? And so you decide on the house because your eyes become bigger than your pockets and you're excited. And I get a call from my mortgage agent, and she tells me, can you send me a letter that says you make this much money? And it happened to be about 7,000 or 8,000 more than I make. And that was pretty close. It was almost like, I would have to, it was almost like, it was like a 50 or 80% increase. And so at first I said, yeah, I don't make that much. And, she said, yeah, that's okay. Can you just send me a letter that you do, and we'll get your mortgage put through? And I wrote the letter up, I typed it up, I signed it. I was very excited. I wrote it out really nice because I was going to send it and I was going to get my house. And I had it in the fax machine. I dialed the number right before I hit send. Whatever stopped my finger from hitting send, it stopped it. And I just pulled the paper out and I just canceled the whole thing. And I just didn't, I just kind of pulled back for a while. And the thought I had was, if I have to say I am making, 80% more than what I'm making to get approved for a mortgage, that means that mortgage company, with what I make legitimately, does not think I can pay. I can afford this house. So I got to say I'm making this much more. So they'll give me the loan, and it's an adjustable rate mortgage. So I think it was like in 18 months or 2 years, whatever it was, that mortgage was going to jump up considerably. And there's no way I was going to handle that. And so, when you see this was done on a mass scale, and, I look at it like, it's criminal to do to people. I just, because they're in our education system, we don't have the education like that. We just don't. They don't teach us that through high school and college. And if we do, I guess you can get some electives here and there, but that no way prepares you to move out into the real world and really control your finances. And most of us have to kind of step on landmines and learn, because about 97% of us come from average families, right? We're not the 3% of the elite. And if you are, God bless, but you're not. So you're not getting that type of education and real world application because your parents, your grandparents aren't involved in this high finance, right? So it's basically work, get a paycheck, and hopefully you get a pension, and that's how you live. And that's basically your financial lesson. No, you don't learn about credit, good credit, bad credit, and stuff like that. So when this came around, this was really a kind of special one because this was something that not only was that happening on a personal level, that people were getting into homes they couldn't afford, and not only one home they couldn't afford, right? They were getting several that they couldn't afford. And not only was that happening on like an individual basis throughout all the towns in America and probably around the world, but in America, right? But I was on the investment side, and I was selling the CMOs, right? Collateralized mortgage obligations. And they went by a lot of different names, the CDOs and the CMOs. And if you saw that the second Wall Street movie, you heard Gordon Gekko, right? Michael Douglas's character go through them. And then at the end, he called them WMDs, right? Weapons of mass destruction, because he was talking about moral hazard, that, they're able to do all this and it's nobody's fault. It just happened. Right. And so when that happens, it's almost like a perfect storm for Wall Street to cripple Main Street. And that's what happened. And when you look at, the CMOs, what they're supposed to be, and mortgage obligations, those go by credit score, right? So when you have people who have an 800 credit score, their mortgage is a lot safer or a lot better bet to be paid back than someone with a 550 credit score, right? And so all these loans, right, all these mortgages, they are going to be given a letter grade by S&P, Standard & Poor's, and Moody's, the rating agencies. So if they're rated A or AAA, that is very safe paper, right? It's very safe loans to get. Those are people with either outstanding credit or sometimes even commercial properties, but not even from small businesses, from Fortune 500 companies. Though that's going to be your, say, AAA rated. And because they're safer, your interest rate, right, on your investment is lower, right? Because risk to reward. And so back then it would have been like, say, 3% if you were in AAA paper. And then it goes down, right, to B, triple B, double B, B, triple C, right? Then it goes into D, where you get into junk bonds, right? But when you get junk bonds, what you're getting, or you get anything that's rated in the, the single C into the Ds, your interest rate is going to be probably, say, 10%, right? You're going to get a little more money on that. And so we went by the rating agencies. Well, come to find out that Fannie and Freddie, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, those were government agencies that were doing mortgages. And what they were doing is they were putting mortgages together of, say, whatever, a couple of $100 million, right, up to about, they were doing mortgages up to about 500,000, putting them in what's called a tranche, right, and saying and giving, and they would rate it. So they were saying, okay, well, this tranche of 100 million is AAA rated, right? This tranche of 100 million could be triple C rated. This is, so triple C will be more risky, higher interest rate. AAA, lower interest rate, but very safe. So what started to happen was, unbeknownst to us, people on the ground, the rating agencies, I guess, were bought off, and they were rating tranches AAA when half of 50% of those mortgages or more were junk bond rated. They should have been triple Ds, Ds. They were the most risky paper, that people that could not, or were not going, they don't pay back their regular credit. They're not going to pay back what they can't afford. It's just not going to happen. But they were all put into the same category, say AAA rated. But what was happening is we saw AAA rated CMOs for 7%. So we are selling it like crazy with passion behind our voices and really selling it because we think that we're getting our customers an amazing deal. AAA rated CMO at 7%. That we better get every one of our customers going because we're never going to see this again. Right? That's what we were thinking. And that's what our managers were saying. Guys, hit the phones, hit the phone. You're never going to get this again. Are you not going to make sure your customers are taken care of? And our adrenaline is going because we're thinking like, whoa, this is great. And so when you come to find out that, the rating agencies were bought off, that Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac almost went out of business because of all the bullshit that they were doing. And all these customers that thought they were getting this interest rate, so they started getting paid some of their interest. But if they wanted to redeem their CMOs, that's where the problem came in, because what funded the CMOs were people paying their mortgages, right? So once the adjustable rate happened, and people just stopped paying, then there was no way to fund paying back people. So once you had too many people asking for their money back, that's when the shit hit the fan, right? It's kind of like what happened with the Bernie Madoff thing, right? Once too many people asked to liquidate their positions at one time, the money wasn't there because he wasn't getting enough intake. After a while, that well dries up. You can't continuously take on money. And this was going for, probably a year and a half. I know for me really taking notice, it was for a good year and a half, we were pounding it. So, that is one of the, that was one of the big things that started to cripple real estate, that we started to, and we weren't putting two and two together, but then it started to be connected. People are being foreclosed on. CMOs are getting defaulted on. Customers cannot get their money out. Real estate's starting to crash. Foreclosures are going through the roof. More and more people are starting to, complain, get turned upside down, not only lose their homes, lose their investments. I mean, it was crazy. And then that's when you see the market going down 666 points, right? And then 1,000 points, and saying that the computer glitched and the markets were going to freeze the markets. And so, are we always going to have market corrections and crashes and have a recession? We will, but because patterns do run, and they run like that. But I think that when you look at what happened in 08, and I bet you can go back to the dot-com bubble, you can go back to 87 to Black Monday, right, when the market was down 34% in one day, and people were literally jumping out the window of their office, killing themselves. That literally happened on Wall Street. I'll bet you that as many people in 87 and in the dot-com, bubble bursting, and with the real estate collapse, with the recession in 08, right, and any of these other financial crimes, I bet you just as many people went to jail for doing that. That did in 08. And I think there was a documentary that showed two people. One guy was in the UK and another guy was in another country somewhere. And but that's it. You have the countrywide mortgages, 300 million in bad loans, no problem. Right? We'll write that off, and we backstopped, and the government backstopped everybody with the bailouts. And so, those were the big contributors. And I just wanted to kind of give you a little bit of the feeling of the experience of actually being there, selling it to your customers, and then trying to explain to them why you did it, because they're calling you and crying on the phone, right? They're crying over the phone because they don't have anything anymore. Their families are breaking up. Their people are, deleting themselves. And and it's crazy when you're a a young you're a younger guy and you're going through that. That's a surreal to go through when you hear what's happening out there, and you feel like you're part of it, but you had good intention. The intention was one of, it was one of, I cannot believe how I'm doing such you're doing a good thing for your customer. Ends up being that it really was a massive money transfer from Main Street right to Wall Street, and Main Street got crippled. And so when some of the best in the business, some of the best investors, when they talk about the different things, it's they're really talking about some of the same things, but they have like kind of a different take of what happened. So when they talk about, don't don't trust everything that you hear, right? Because big companies that make financial toys that that look safe but really weren't. And I don't want to put that on anybody, because really the customer was unknowing, we were unknowing, and we were financial advisors in the system, but we didn't know it. But where guys like Warren Buffett come from, and Kevin O'Leary, right? And even though Tony Robbins is a motivator, but he has interviewed so many of the best investors, he has a really great perspective on it. And so in just looking at what they're saying, and I'm going to finish off with Robert Kiyosaki and his take on it as well. But when you hear that you have someone like Warren Buffett, you think they're making safe toys, but they're really not, right? And so when the people who bought them not only got hurt, but it broke them. And so when he says don't trust everything, he's not saying don't. When you hear a good idea, you can trust yourself that it's a good idea. But if something seems too good to be true, or something looks too enticing, you need to start doing your own research. And that goes for everybody. And I think it should go for financial advisors. I'm not a financial advisor any longer, but I think it goes for financial advisors too, because you could take on that fiduciary responsibility and look into it and find out what exactly is in it, instead of thinking that, hey, how far, is this really A-rated? What is this? If it's A-rated, why is the rate so high? So, everyone could do their due diligence. So with that, what I'll do is I can put some links up to what some of these guys have said, and about, why it happened. But to be honest, in everything that I spoke to you about is really, in if you look at all their points, it's pretty much on the money on what they're saying. And then, so Mama, Trump's golden age. So do you guys think it's the golden age because Trump is in the presidency? Do you think he has a silver bullet that's going to fix everything with one shot? But and I am very, very hopeful. I'll say that. But what I don't want is the expectation to be so outrageous that the guy don't get a chance. Like, and within the first week, if everything isn't fixed, he's not, promises made, promises kept. I think we are moving into the golden age. I think that this is the start where finally I feel like the American people got, maybe took their head out of their ass and got together and in one voice said, no more, no mas, right? We're not doing this no more. And when you look at what Trump has done the first day, just one executive order wiped out 80 of Biden's executive orders, and what he did. And so why do I think that we're heading into the golden age is executive orders to, go back to drilling, to being energy independent, to the first executive order that Biden did, right, was to shut down the pipeline. So that'll be reopened. Once we do that, we have the most, they always call oil liquid gold. And in America, we have the most reserves anywhere. So filling up our strategic reserves and being energy independent and being the largest exporter of oil that we could have been, that we were when he was president the first time, will bring a massive amount of money into the country, but also give jobs to people, which as those people get jobs, what do, right? They spend money in the economy, and more money being spent in the economy, that's how our economy moves, right? We have people buying and selling goods. So when you look at that mixed with what's happening within the country as far as the executive orders he's put in to make the country safe. So MS-13, that other gang from Venezuela, Trasvalaga, whatever they're called, that they were taking over buildings, and it was like New Jack City, the movie. There were just people who stood there were like kind of live-in hostages, but they were going building by building, and I don't know why some politicians were denying it, but that's what's happening. But being safe and having a safe country is huge. So when you look at some of the things that he's doing and people feel safe to go out and spend money in the economy, everything runs full circle, right? And full circle meaning the stock market, the crypto market, the bond market, precious metal, all those currency, all those markets start to move in the right direction. And I think we may have a little bit of a correction and the markets come down a little bit only because they were so overinflated and propped up. The valuation's got to be correct. But I think that with everything he's doing, right, with quelling the border, stopping wars, stopping sending money overseas, tariffs, all that stuff, that's all great for the markets on the whole. And now if we just put a finer point on it, right, and we look at crypto, and I think a large benefactor of what he's doing is going to directly affect, potentially, not a guarantee, but potentially really have a positive effect on the Ripple and the XRP platform, because the interim SEC head, Mark Ueda, he is very, very pro crypto. Then another executive order that he did was to kind of reduce regulation, and regulation seems to be one of the biggest kind of energy suckers from most anything. Starting a new business, all the regulation sucks energy out, right? Where people don't want to start new businesses, or if you have too much regulation on investment, you just don't want to be bothered with all of it because it can blow up in your face. So when he reduces regulation, that is huge. And when that happens, crypto on the whole is going to move, but because with the relationship he has with the Ripple CEO and the meetings he's taken and things he has said about XRP, when you see things like that happening, ultimately it seems like that's where the benefits will go, or be one of the crypto coins, the XRP and the family around them, XLM and XRP and Corium and Sologenics, all the things that we talk about, Stronghold. Those are going to be one of the family of coins that are going to do really well, because they have real world utility. They have real world uses that right now, as of now, nobody can come close to the amount of transactions that can be done, the quickness and how inexpensive pennies on a dollar can be done. So it's really exciting to see what's going to happen with that. And so I think that is the golden age here. I think it's coming. I think we are going to have some rough patches. And I think that once the opposition to his executive orders, once they shake out, with the frivolous lawsuits and the trying to combat it. That's all got to shake out. But the executive orders that'll be in place will start to gain momentum in our economy starting to boom, jobs, more money coming into the economy being spent because of the jobs from the energy, what he's doing with the oil, what he's doing at the border, what he's doing with violence in the country. And I think when you start doing that, money's going to be saved all around. And that does bring business back in, because money starts to leave when there's too much, when there's a lot going on, a lot of regulation, a lot of violence and that stuff. So although it doesn't seem like that's what you'd be talking about, everything runs full circle, and everything does have an effect, because ultimately the markets run on emotion, and what emotion leads people to action. And if your action is to be paralyzed by fear, that's not good. If paralyzed leads you to take money out of something, that's going to put downward pressure. And if everything is feeling good and doing well, then what you do is you're investing in, and that's what starts to push and gain momentum. And that's what you want to look at. So let's see, if government gets involved in crypto, do you think it changes decentralized status to a know your customer rules, taxes? I think that it's the government. It won't get if the government gets involved in decentralized exchanges, it's not going to be a decentralized exchange, because ultimately they're going to wind up having control over it through too much regulation, and they're going to wind up choking it. So what I think is going to happen is, and this is what I think is that why I say the golden age is starting, and crypto is going to be this is going to be a jump off point to some amazing things, and hopefully everyone can set themselves up at least with something and take advantage of it. This is going to be getting the regulations out of the way and laying a foundation of cement under your castle rather than sand. So if what Trump is doing with some of these executive orders, and with thinking that some of those are going to get codified at some point, because we do have the House and Senate, and I think once he can solidify these things, then what we're doing is we're building a foundation that is going to be so strong that when the markets do move, it's not because they're being propped up, it's not because of any of what the finagling that was going on with our treasuries and giving other countries our treasuries to then invest in the markets, so the markets go up, and none of that BS will have to happen. It will be a true, proper valuation of a country that is now put back building blocks that we can actually build on. And I think with the referendum that just happened in this election was a very resounding, again, people saying we are done with the bullshit and with all these dumb little things, that distractions and dumb little causes, and we want to move forward. And with the popular vote, the House, the Senate, and anything else you could have won, he won. And it's really because of the American people. And I'm really proud of the American people for doing that and getting together and doing that, because that's what's going to lay the foundation for us. And that's how it has to work, because there's no one savior, right? We have to save ourselves and have to help each other save, each other, right? We have to put our hand out and pick the next guy up. And so when that happens and we start doing that, the momentum that happens, the exponential growth and momentum that happens, it's like throwing gasoline on a fire. It just explodes, and then strong winds come, and it'll go throughout the globe. And I do think some of the people that were saying it starts with America, and I do think that it is that. I think the will of the people of America is different. And it was something that I was always proud of growing up. That's where the patriotism came from me, was just that I thought we were different. We were built different. We went through hard times and we fought our way out. And we, even on the brink of losing, we never give up, and we play the whole 60 minutes, right? There's no give. in us, especially when we get to a certain point and we're fed up and we need to make a change and we get together like this, the momentum we'll build will be historical. And I, from the beginning, I was, as soon as I saw Trump running, the first thing I said is he's going to win. That's just him. That's his personality. There's no way this is going any other way. I don't know anyone saying it. And he did. And to my surprise, I mean, I wasn't a big Trump fan, before. I didn't not or like him. He was just another, guy, a real estate guy. But, it had nothing to do with me. But because he was from New York and I'm from New York, I always favored him if he was ever in a, argument with somebody, and he always was. So I was always like, yeah, Trump. But when he became president, I was in shock and awe on the work, the energy, and everything he put in, and the life he sacrificed, and the life he almost sacrificed. Right? He took part of his ear off, and so, I think that, again, I don't think there's one savior, but I do think you need one person to stand up that has the balls to stand up and take a bullet and stand up and yell fight, and they try to bankrupt him and stand up and fight, right? And try to take his freedom away and stand up and fight. And they are proud. And when you look at that, if I was on the other side, I would be going, how resilient is this guy? And at some point, you got to go, whether you like him or not, you got to go, you got to respect the guy. The guy has no give in him. And I really believe that's what America is. We won't give. You better kill us all the way, right? And so I think that Trump is the guy who is going to lead us. But again, don't look at anyone for your savior. Learn some of the things that are out there. There's so much information out there. And again, Robert Kiyosaki, the way he talks about things, he talks about things like an average person, and then he also could talk about things as a millionaire. He's not a billionaire yet, but he's moving there. And you get guys like these guys like Grant Cardone, like Tony Robbins, and the people who he's interviewed. Not that he's an investment specialist, but he's interviewed and he's been around Ray Dalio and Warren Buffett and you name it. He's been around all these guys, and he has a very successful investment portfolio. And if you hear the companies he's invested in majorly, the guy has like 114 companies that he's involved in. And the research that he does and what he's learned from these guys has really propelled him forward. So, when they put stuff out, really start to take stock on what you're doing and what your mindset is and how you can maybe tweak it a little bit to start to move forward in a way where you can see some safety and some strategy, and it's not just crossing your fingers and white knuckling it, hoping something goes up, but you're investing in something because you know that there's value behind it. And coming back to crypto, when there are cryptos that when we have high inflation, when the markets are uncertain, that will do well. They'll hedge against it, right? And there are things when, there are also some of the stable coins that you can move into when the currency is getting hit, right? So inflation. And so there are things you can do. And and again, there are stocks that will run the same way, right? They'll have that beta or one, right? Where they'll go up and down with that crypto. Right? If you look Mara, right, MARA, the stock, and then you have Bitcoin. You look at the end of the month and beginning of months, and they kind of run pretty similar. So again, it's a way you can amp up your gains, right? Or realize that if it's that time of the month, maybe you wait because that's when all the energy to mine Bitcoin, right, is getting taken out, and so everything's coming down. That's the time you want to buy. So when they start to sell all their coins to make their money back and Bitcoin runs up, and so does Mara, by the way, you can capitalize on Bitcoin, or you can add a little steroid shot, right? And you have Mara, and that goes up with it. And again, it's just a strategy. You look at the charts, and you can do your research and look through it. And there's different things that will run like that. But you want to know, those type of cryptos, because I do think the stock market there are going to be some changes coming. It's not going to be immediate. AI, thank God AI came when it did, because again, that propped up the markets as well. That did such a massive amount of money in these AI stocks. If AI didn't come out when it did, I don't know where the markets would have been. But between propping it up with the manipulation and then AI injecting probably $1 trillion or more into the market in a short period of time, which is incredible. And I think that's just going to continue to go. I think that we would have had a bloodbath. It would have been bad. And so again, look for the markets to shake out probably a little bit. Again, this is what I'm thinking. It's not financial advice. I just think it has to shake out a little bit. I think that's why even the cryptos came down a little bit, because everything, whenever things are manipulated, sometimes the markets short circuit a little bit and they get a little haywire. But what we do know is that Bitcoin hit all-time highs. XRP had a 5 or a 6 or a 7-time gain. XLM had a multi-time gain. So did Corium. And remember, Corium has that passive income as well at 25 or 28% compounded, right? Sologenic, Stronghold, all the things that Jason and I talk about and support, they've done really well, and they're holding their own. And, again, they're going to move up and down. Nothing goes up in a straight line. But because we have a president that wants America to be the crypto capital of the world, and because he wants to win in business, and because he's not going to have other countries take America and use us as a piggy bank, and then when they walk away, give us the finger, that's not going to happen no more. Right? When our cars are being sold in another country and they're taxing the shit out of it, so no one buys them. And then when they come into this country and sell their cars, there's no tariff. Their cars get sold automatically, no problem. Those days are done. And you're already seeing the countries wanting to talk to ceasefire. And so that means less money going out. And I think all that is going to set this country up for a run of the golden age. And I think that it's going to create prosperity for the long term. So I think a little volatility in the short term will be well worth the amount of money and the amount of wealth that can be built over the long term of this bull run that we are going to go on, that I guess we're calling the golden age. And so I'll end this by just saying that, I am not only hopeful, but I am excited to see where this goes, and how far we can take it. I don't want to say before we have to screw it up again, but how far we can take it. And hearing success stories, hearing stories of people pulling themselves out of poverty, hearing people able to pay for surgeries, maybe save their pets, right? And do all these things that we couldn't do, all of a sudden we do. And hearing all those positive stories, again, I think everything is momentum. Everything is momentum. And I think if we can create that positive momentum, we become our own saviors. We become a mass of people that create a momentum that will start to trickle throughout different countries, over the oceans, throughout the globe. And it's going to start with America. And by the way, Trump is what he wants to do, a nationally digitalized the executive order he did. So we get cryptocurrencies that are made in the US, and that's what he wants to promote. And so, with everything that's coming around the bend, and we know the Trump's created a coin as well because they got froze out of the banks. But, when you look at necessity is the mother of all invention. And I think that that's where we're at. We're at necessity for America to actually manufacture our own stuff again. And if we have to pay a little bit more to keep it American and not lose jobs to another country that's going to have, pay people nothing to work, I think that, that's a sacrifice I'm willing to make every day. Because I think if we can do that and we can become self-sufficient, I know I have a servant's heart, and I think so does America, and I think so does Trump. And I think that if we do well, I think we'll be able to pay it forward. And the countries that need help, when they actually need help, we can be there, not by printing more money, but by just giving them money out of our coffers. Not that we're printing money or diluting our currency or hurting our taxpayer or any of that the stuff that's been going on, or enriching politicians. None of that. If everything can be on the up and up, the help we give can really just be wholehearted. And that's the best way to give, because we know it's not being stolen from us to give to somewhere else. So, that's just what I think. And if I truly believe that the cryptos that we're talking about with the Ripple XRP platform and the kind of the brother and sisters, the XLM and Sologenics, and I think that they are going to be a staple. XRP is already up, and I think it's like the top three now, the top 3 or 4 of the largest cryptos. I think that's going to continue. I think that's going to be the catalyst for the rest of the ones we talk about really move. And I know Jace has brought up the meme coin, the ZERP, and he's in a community with it. And so that's going to be at a price that's going to be attractive, where if you have a small amount of money to invest, you can still get a significant amount of them. And as XRP goes, that whole family will go, and you can really capitalize on that. And so a coin like that, some of these meme coins that are out there that are at 1/100,000th of a penny, they go to 1 cent. That's over a 16,000% gain, right? So you can do well. So don't be discouraged that if you have to start with less money than the guy across the street. The important thing is you start. And like we talked about, you can dollar cost average. So you get yourself a nice dollar cost average in there. And before you know it, you'll have a significant amount of some of these cryptos. And when they make their move throughout 2025 and 26 and on, you too will have a success story to share. And you too can tell somebody, don't be discouraged starting with $25 or $50 a week. Just get started, because you know what? That's where I started. And just because now I can put in $1 million somewhere, that's not how it always was. And this is what I did. And I want to pass this knowledge along to you, because you can do the same things. And so that's where I believe America's strength derives from, because our ability to help other Americans. And I think that we can really do well. So before I go, I just want to say also, I wanted to thank everybody for buying the book. It was my first book. And I actually stopped. I have a series, sales book series coming out to help. And I actually put that on hold when I saw the number codes from the book, and I wanted to see if I could pull it up, but give me a second. I'm going to see if I can pull it up. But what I wanted to tell you guys is that the people who did buy the book, I wanted to thank you, because that was I appreciate all the support on that, and I put a ton of codes in there, and I just want to show you the cover in case you didn't see it. But basically, you can manifest and co-create your future, and so with that ability to do that, this is another bullet in your gun, so to speak, because what you can do with it is you can use the codes to, you can use these codes to, go, whether it's your health, whether it's financial abundance, spiritual abundance, whether it's, talking to your higher self, if it's getting to the highest frequency possible, if it's, you name it, lower back pain, PTSD, there are codes for everything. I think I have almost 600 codes in the book that I end up just putting in there. They weren't, and at the end I put it in there. But I'm going to just show you the cover of it so you can get a picture of it. Yeah. And so this is the book. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave a link of the book in the description. And so if you do see it, there's an ebook and there's a paperback, and this is it. It's the frequency formula, mastering the Grabovoi numbers for success. And it's really, it'll align you with the universal energy, and you can really create the life you deserve. And I'll tell you, if you get good at the process of when you're going to start to meditate, to use the number codes. Yeah, and to use the number codes to manifest it. If you just read the process, and any questions you have, you can always reach out to me on Messenger or on these comments. But in this book, there's codes, and then there's also pages where you can write the code you're using, and the results. And what you want to do is you want to do it, again, morning, afternoon, and in the evening. And if you can do that, and again, do it with intention, I think you'll start to, you'll see that co-creating your life is something you can do. That life can happen for you, not to you, and you literally can pave the road ahead of you. So it's really exciting. And like I said, I put a project that was very near and dear to me on hold for a while, because when I saw this, it just resonated with me. I love numbers. You don't have to love numbers to do this, but I love numbers. They're part of the universal codes. And so it's a great thing to add into what you're already doing, or it's a great way to get started into it, because it may excite you to continue to meditate and further manifest for yourself and your family. And so you can get the book on Amazon. It will soon be coming out on Audible as well. And it looks like the code is in the comments there for the book. And again, it's on, there's a paperback, there's an ebook. It's on Amazon, soon to come to Audible. And then if you read it, and I would appreciate if you can leave a review on Amazon. Those are really important for me with the book. And when I come out with the next series, the sales books, I will let everybody know. But again, a big thank you for everybody who supported me. I love you guys. Sorry I was late today, but I had a technical issue. And Jason and I will be back on Tuesday at 10 a.m. And we will resume our normal Crypto Corner show. So until then, I just want to thank Deep Dives in the Desert for having the Crypto Corner show. And have a great night, a great week, and we will be talking to you next Tuesday. So have a good one. Take care.